Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Crown and today we are going to have some more stories that I hope that you will enjoy. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go! In secondary school, I was tormented by a specific bully. For years, I was beaten up and publicly humiliated on a daily basis. The worst thing he did was beat me up so bad that I got a concussion and broken ribs when I was 14. He never faced consequences in school because his family was rich and he was pretty popular. For context, I live in a pretty small town in England, so everyone knows everyone, including the bully. He left the school when I was 17 and I didn't see him for about a year. Around this time, I got way more popular and started going to parties and making more friends. And annoyingly, he was friends with some of my friends and his girlfriend was at my school, but I managed to avoid him mostly until I finished school. Unfortunately, I saw him a few months later. Me and my friends went to the pub to celebrate our exam results, and he was a complete jerk to me. Started insulting me and mocking me to my friends, saying, "Why do you hang out with him?" Bringing up a bunch of stuff from years ago, and at one point put me in a headlock and told me that my friends only hung out with me out of pity. I wasn't going to take it, but I also wasn't going to get into a punch-up because I didn't want to give him the satisfaction of getting me angry. And right at that moment, I overheard the perfect thing. He was bragging to his friends about the house party he was having and saying about all the drugs he was going to take to the party, and said he had it all in his car. It wasn't just a bit of weed either. If I remember correctly, he said he had 13 bags of coke, about 30 bills of MDMA, and 7 or 8 of grams of ketamine. And then I knew what I would do for my revenge on this guy. As he was leaving, I followed him to his car and took a photo for his number plate. Then, after he was driving off, I walked off and called the police. I knew they needed something more than hearsay to stop the car, especially because I didn't want to be traced back to it. So I told the police I saw my bully snorting a white powder in a pub toilets. This was a complete fabrication, by the way, and then get into the driver's side of his car. I then provided them with the license plate of the car and told him the direction they were heading in. I honestly didn't think they were going to stop him, or maybe they would ask him questions later and ruin his party. But the driving on drugs allegation plus the fact that he had been arrested for minor possession before, which I didn't know at the time, was enough for the police to take it seriously, stop and search his car, which they found all the drugs he was transporting to his party, and he got arrested for it. The consequences of his arrest meant he lost out on his university place. His rich parents had enough of his behavior, so they kicked him out and cut him off from their funds. And a rumor I heard was that in turn for a lower sentence, my bully ratted out his supplier, which resulted in him getting stabbed. And as a consequence of that now, he has to wear a colostomy bag. And that plus his criminal record means he's currently unemployed. So I'm a mall guard. I'm the one who bans you when you get caught shoplifting and tells you that no, you cannot ride mountain bikes in the mall. Yes, this happened, and that's a whole another bizarre story. If anyone is interested, I actually have a lot of stories, both scary, funny, and what the hell. This happened about a week ago. I was pulling a 17-hour shift that included the overnight. The mall is guarded 24/7. About 11 p.m., I was doing a patrol around the inside of the building. We had some workmen doing maintenance work in one of the food court restaurants, and I had to keep an eye on them as well as my usual rounds. Walking into the food court, I was waved over by the night janitor. There were 2 cops with him. The only way in at that point was through a back entrance we had left open for the workmen. We've had some ongoing issues with the local department, and I was somewhat annoyed to see them just coming in again without trying to contact security first. But whatever. The police officer asked me about a silver truck with a light on top, like a security truck, driving around the property. They knew it wasn't one of our security trucks, which are white. They also have large decals on the side that are hard to miss. I had no clue what they were talking about. I hadn't been outside in the last hour, so as soon as they left, I immediately double-checked that the mall was secure. It's an important part of my job to make sure no unauthorized vehicles or individuals are in the mall parking lot overnight, so after that I headed out. I found the truck quickly. I'd have called it dark gray rather than silver, but whatever. When I got up to the truck, there was a company name I'd never heard of. The name underneath that I assumed was the name of the guard himself and the phone number. I won't give any more details than that for obvious reasons. However, the security company was one I had never heard of and was in no way associated with the mall. I asked him if I could help him, and the other guard just lobbed the exact same question back at me. I informed him that I was mall security, that he was on private property and I needed him to leave. The other guard told me that he, in fact, was security, which was a bit confusing to say the least. I again identified myself as mall security and informed the man that if he didn't leave the premises, I would call the police. He responded, insisting that he was going to call the police and have me removed from the property for trespassing. At no time did he identify himself or give any reason for his presence on the property beyond insisting that he was security. He was extremely annoyed by my questioning and became increasingly combative and aggressive in his tone. He did not, however, at any time exit his vehicle, and I kept well back for obvious reasons. I'll pause here to say that I am female, and on the short side. People generally judge me as being in my late 20s, although I'm a good bit older. This guy was a large man who I put in his late 30s or early 40s, so while he didn't exactly say run along little girl and leave security to men, it was heavily implied by his tone and attitude. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about. So I called the police. It was about midnight at this point, but procedure is procedure. As soon as I got off the phone with dispatch, I had to call first my direct boss and then the general manager to inform them of the situation. Neither of them knew why some guy from another security company would be there. The mall general manager, who we will call Dave for the purposes of this narrative, said he wanted the guy off the property. The other security guard shouted something I couldn't understand at me while I was on the phone with Dave, though the tone was very aggressive. Dave could hear him yelling over the phone and said to stay well back. I agree entirely. By the time I got off the phone, the other guy had rolled his window up again and appeared to be on the phone himself. The police called me at this point and asked if this was about the truck they had told me about. When I confirmed this, he told me that they had, and I quote, caught up to the driver and they had claimed to be a private security hired by one of the anchor stores to watch it overnight. I called Dave with the information and also texted him the number on the truck. Calling the company, Dave was told that the store had indeed hired private security, without getting permission or even bothering to inform us. Before I go farther, yes, the store in question rents their individual space. If they had hired a guard to be within that space, I would have nothing to say to it, and neither would the mall. This isn't the case though. In fact, the guard they hired isn't allowed inside their store. He was hired to watch it from outside, on property that is the mall's, not the store's. Individual stores are not permitted to use mall property beyond their rented space without prior authorization. It is in their contracts. After speaking to the company, Dave called me back. He said that the whole thing would need to be sorted out in the morning, but for that night the guard could stay. However, it was on sufferance, and he was to remain in his vehicle at all times and to stay only in a parking lot directly by the store, not driving around the whole mall parking lot like the cops had seen him doing. I attempted to relay these instructions to the other security guard, although he did briefly roll his window down again He continued to refuse to listen to anything I said. When I tried to speak to him, he talked right over me very loudly, saying he just talked to his boss and everything was fine, so I was to again run along. He seemed to like that phrase, and I tried to insist that I needed him to listen to me, but he objected, saying that he didn't have to listen to anything I said. When I tried again, he just started talking even louder to drown me out, saying he didn't have to listen to me. Then he rolled up his window again and refused point blank to acknowledge my presence. In the end, I had to call the police officer back and ask him to inform the guy of Dave's instructions. In the morning, there was a huge hullabaloo about it. I don't know about all the details, but the store manager had a long meeting with Dave. Also, a formal complaint was issued with the company in regards to their guy. A couple days later, I was asked by someone higher up in their company to go through exactly what happened with her. Afterwards, she apologized profusely, and we have been told that the guard in question would be dealt with, whatever that means. We never saw that guard again. I'm writing this on my dinner break, and as I type, some other guard is currently sitting out the parking lot watching the store. I'll be honest with you though, I honestly don't think the other guard ever actually believed that I was security. It was chilly, it being October, so I'd thrown on a hoodie over my uniform. Still, when someone says they are security, involves the mall general manager and the police because you are trespassing, they might just be who they say they are. I'm a 5'10" female. I work in a parts department. We have a technician here, 5'2" male, who is a miserable human being, a bully to anyone and everyone, consistently rude for no reason, and demanding and demeaning. Our department is under massive construction. As such, we have very little storage and the department is a mess. No trip hazard, but cluttered. I've worked hard at keeping floor space safe and clear as I'm going to be wheelchair bound shortly due to reconstructive surgery to fix a lifelong problem with my feet/legs. Now this doesn't directly affect him, as no one other than authorized parts personnel are authorized in our storage areas. This technician has been horrible, especially to me, especially since construction started and we are short-staffed. If we don't have parts immediately ready for him, he yells and swears. He complained about the mess and now I have to have every part on a shelf. Cue the malicious compliance. Everyone in my department is around my height. We also have very tall shelving units. We never use the top of the units. I've now moved every common part needed by technicians to the tops of our shelves. By stretching, all parts personnel are able to easily reach these parts. I've also gotten the rude tech exclusive permission for him to be able to come back and grab parts. The finale. We have a step ladder, hollow metal tube type. This is supposed to be for parts used, but rude tech constantly steals it, leaving it outside or where it shouldn't be. He just hates asking for it, and refuses to ever accept or ask for help reaching things. Remember the aforementioned construction? Well, we're pouring concrete today. The construction workers were more than happy to fill the hollow tubes of the ladder with new concrete. So now I get to watch this jerk who's made his toxic masculinity everyone else's problem lug this 60-pound ladder around, all because he couldn't just be a decent human being. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.